Welcome everyone as we learn the amazing limud of Chok Yisrael for Parshas Tazria, Yom Shlishi, Day 3, Be'ezras Hashem Yisbach. And we are talking about tzaras, biblical leprosy. V'ro'a koyin es hanega, and the koyin sees the plague, ba'ar abasar, on the skin of his flesh, and he sees v'seir banega hofach lavan, and he sees a minimum of 2 hairs on the leprosy turned white. Omari hanega omoik me'ar b'sarai, and the appearance of the tzaras is deeper than the color of his flesh. Nega tzarasu, it is a plague of leprosy. V'ra ha'kayin, and the kayin sees it. V'timei oisai, and he declares him tamei. V'yachzei ka'ano yos machtosha b'mshach b'isra v'sara b'machtosha yisafich l'machavar omechazei machtosha omik b'mshach b'isrei machtesh sigirusahu v'yachazine ka'ana v'yisoev yosei. Says Rashi, v'seyor b'nega hofach lavan, and the hair on the leprosy turned white, mitchila shachar. Initially it was black, v'hafach l'lavan b'seich hanega, and it turned white inside the tzaras. Umiyot seir, and as I said, 2 hairs, because the minimum of seir, which is plural, is shnayim, is 2. If it's amak me'ar b'sari, if it's deeper than the color of his flesh, kol mara lavan, any appearance of white, amaku, is deep, kamara chama, as the sun is amukum minatzel, is deeper than the shade. V'tomei oisai, yaima loy tomei ata. It says to him, you are tomei. Shesei 11, because a white hair is siman tuma, who? It's a sign of tuma, through exeris hakasav, through a divine mandate. V'im baheres levana hi ba'ar b'sarai, if the spot, the white spot, is white, ba'ar b'sarai, on the flesh of his skin, v'amayk ein mara minar, but its color is not deeper than the flesh. Now here we have an extraordinary Rashi. Rashi says he doesn't know what this means. Rashi doesn't often say that in the entire Chumash. But Rashi says he doesn't know what that means, because how could white not be deeper than skin color? Usa'ara lo yafach lavan, and the hair did not turn white. So then v'hiskar ha'kayin es hanega, the kayin incarcerates, locks up the person with the nega, shivas yamim, for 7 days. V'im bahara chivarihi b'meshach b'isrei v'amak les marzah min mashcha, usa'ara lo v'shafach l'machavar, v'yasker kahana yas machtosha shava yoyim. Rashi says, "Va'omak mar minar, fasten your seatbelts. Lo yadati perusha. I don't know what this means, because white is always deeper than skin color. V'hisker yaskirenu b'bayis echad. He locks him in the house. V'lo yira, and he will not see it. Lo yira at soif hashvua, until the end of the week. V'yoichichu simonim olav, and then the signs will prove what is its status. After the week, v'ra ha'kayin b'yom hashvi, the kayin will observe him on the 7th day. V'hinei hanega omad be'enav, if it stayed the same in his view, like pasa hanega ba'ard, it didn't spread. Then v'zgira ha'kayin shivas yom shenis, the kayin locks him up another 7 days. V'yachazine kahana b'yom hashviyah, v'amachtosha kam karava, lo osif machtosha b'mashcha, v'yaskerine kahana shava yom tinyonos. Be'enav, b'mar'ehu, be'enav is a lashon rabim, it means b'mar'ehu, in its appearance, or b'shi'urai, and its an amount, in its appearance, in other words, its color, or b'shi'urai, in its size, or b'shi'ara arishin, it didn't change. V'zgira yishenis, ha'imparsa b'shvur rishin, if it spread the first week, then tamei muchluk, then he would be definitely tamei. V'ra HaKohen, the pasuk continues, V'ra HaKohen oisai b'yayim ha'shvi shenis. The Kohen then observes it on the second, seventh day. V'inei keya ha'nega, if the nega dimmed, v'loi pasa ha'nega ba'ar, and it didn't spread, v'tiaroi HaKohen, the Kohen declares him tar, mispachasi, it's just a mere scab, and because he was locked up, so that gave him a tumah, v'chibes begadav, he is toivel, v'tar, and he will then be declared tar. If it's keya, hucha mamariyasai, it dimmed from its appearance. Rashi says, ha'im amad b'marisai, if it stayed the same, oy pasa, or it sped, tameh. Mispachas, that's shem negatar. That means that it's a tar dermatological problem. V'chibeis begada v'tar, ha'yo v'niskach lehesker, since he had to be incarcerated, nikra tameh, v'tzarech tefillah. If this nega spread after it was shown to the kohen, who declared him tar, then then it's shown a second time to the kohen. Now, if you remember, the king, the Jewish king, when he heard that the king of Aram sent Naaman to be cured of leprosy, he tore his clothing, and he said that they're only looking to find a pretext to start up with me. Vayhi kishmei Elisha isha lekim, when Elisha the Navi, a man of God, heard Kikara Melch Yisrael's begadav, that the Jewish king tore his clothing, Vayishlach al Melech Lamer, he sent to the king saying, Lama karata begadecha, why are you tearing your clothing? Yavai na Eli, let him come to me to be cured of his leprosy. V'yeda, and it will be a kiddush Hashem. V'yeda ki yesh navi b'Yisrael, and he will know that there's a prophet in Israel. V'yavai Naaman b'susav u'v'richbai. So Naaman came in his royal way, with his royal steed and his chariot. V'yamoid pesach habayis leElisha, and he stood by the door of the house of Elisha. Now he thought he would get a king's welcome, and the Navi would come out. Vayishal chalav Elisha malach. Elisha didn't go out to greet him. He sent an agent, Lamer, haloich v'rachatz sheva pa'amim b'Yarden, go and bathe 7 times in the Yarden, v'yasher b'sarcha l'cha utahar, and your flesh will return back to its regular way, and it will be cleansed. Now Naaman, not getting, he was an arrogant fellow. Vayikseif Naaman, Naaman got angry. Vayelech, and he went. Vayayim hine amarti Eli, I said to myself, Yetze Yotzav Amad, that he would come in out himself, the Navi, and greet me. B'shem Hashem Elokav, in the name of Hashem his God. V'heinif Yodei El HaMakom, and wave his hand on the place of my leprosy. V'asav HaMetzayra, and he would cause the tzaras to leave. He tells me to bathe in the Jordan. Haloi toiv Amono Farpar, better are the rivers of Ammona and Farpar, Narois Damesek, the rivers of Damascus, Mikol Meimei Yisrael. Haloi erchutz behem v'tarti, if I would bathe in them, would I become tar? It's ridiculous the way he's treating me. Vayifen vayelech, and he turned and he stomped away, b'chema, in wrath. We'll continue to pick up this story the next chak. In the wisdom of Mishlei, it says, and I already made a bracha, Mechashev l'hareya, a person who plots against people, to do bad to people, loy bal mezima yisikro. You should know that he will get reputation as a scheming person. People will recognize who he is. Zimas iveles chatas. The very thoughts of the fool surface around sin. V'soavas la'adam, and it's an abomination to men, lates, a scorner, a scoffer. they say a very beautiful thing. They say Leitz is made up of a lamed and a tzaddik, because the scoffer thinks he's learned and he's righteous. He thinks he knows better than everyone. Hisra pisa, if you weaken your hand beyond tzara, when somebody is in distress, and you don't help a person when he's in trouble, sar koichecha, mida keneged mida, your strength will wane when you're in trouble. Hatzel kuchim lamavis, you should help those that are taken to death. Now, death could not mean literally, it could mean poverty, because ani chashuv kameis. Umotim lahereg, and those that are tilting towards being killed, help the sick. Im tachseich, if you avoid doing so, helping people that are in need, Kisayma, you might use an excuse. Hein lo yodanu zeh. We don't know about how dire the situation is, but Hashem knows that you did know. Haloi toichen liba yisu yavin. The inside of your heart, Hashem knows. V'noitzer nafshcha, and the one who guards your soul, hu yeda. He knows that you knew about the person's plight, and made nishvint visendik. You made like you didn't know. V'heishiv lo adam kefalai, and Hashem repays a person according to his behavior. Now our venture for today is the 11th parak of Ksuvas. Almana nizaynis minichse yisayimim. A widow is supported from the estate of the orphans, and in lieu of this, ma'isi odel shalahem, her salary goes to them. However, they're not chayiv to bury her because they don't inherit her ksuva. Yorshe ksuvasa, those that inherit her ksuva, chayavim b'kfurasa, are required to bury her. Almana, a widow, bein mina erisin, bein mina nesuin. Now, a widow only from betrothal, that means her husband died before the marriage is consummated. There, she doesn't get supported, but she is entitled to a ksuva. And bein mina nesuin, or if she's a widow from marriage, moicheres shaloi bebezna, she could sell real estate in order to collect her ksuva if she was an almana from betrothal, or to get her mezainis if she was a widow from marriage. She could sell not in the presence of bezdin, because we assume that the husband wouldn't want her to be embarrassed to have to go to court. Reb Shimon says, min nisuin, if it was for a widow from marriage, there, she could sell not in the presence of bezdin. Why? Because he holds that you could sell for food, which is an immediate need, without having to go to court. But the almana min ha'erisin that's not entitled to food, that should be, since it's only for the ksuva, that's only in the presence of the court. Let's see that inside. Reb Shimon Aimer min ha'nesuin moicheres shaloi bebezdin. Min ha'erisin, for erisin, where that's not for mezainis, she's not entitled to food, lo timker ela bebezdin. Mipnei she'ein la mezainis, because she's not entitled to support. Because she'ein la mezainis, if she's not entitled to support, lo timker ela bebezdin. Machra ksuvasa or miksasa. If she already sold real estate to collect her basic ksuva, if she's a basula, 200 zuz, or part of it, or mishkana ksuvasa, or she took her ksuva as collateral to somebody that she owed money, or miksasa, or part of her ksuva, or nisana ksuvasa la'achar, or she gave her ksuva as a present to someone, or miksasa. So the Tanna Kama holds that once she collected at least part of her ksuva, she's not entitled to mezainis anymore. And since she's not entitled to mezainis, if she wants to collect the rest of her ksuva, lo simka es ashar, she can't sell the rest of the real estate. Ela bebezdin. The Chacham argue on this. The Chacham first of all say, she could sell her ksuva even in piecemeal, even 4 or 5 times, and is still entitled to mezainis. And she could sell food for sell real estate for the mezainis, shaloi bebezdin, not in court. However, the Mishnah gives us advice that she should write what she's selling for the ksuva and what she's selling for her mezainis in order that she shouldn't look gluttonous. This was sold for mezainis, and this was sold for the ksuva. It shouldn't look like she's selling so much for mezainis and look like a glutton, and then she'll have a hard time to remarry. But a grusha, a divorcee, should not sell real estate to collect the ksuva only in Bezdin, because we said the husband doesn't want his wife to be embarrassed in Bezdin, but if he divorced her, he doesn't care if she would be embarrassed in Bezdin. Almana shoyse ksuvasa masayim, a widow who was married as a virgin and therefore was entitled to a ksuva of 200, right? So almana shoyse ksuvasa masayim, where her ksuva was 200, and she sold a piece of the orphan's real estate, which was worth 100, for 200. Okay, she was a good businessman, so she got her pay. Or she took a piece of land worth 200 and sold it for 100. There, the Yosemim could say, look, you took 200 from us already. You botched it up and you didn't get the right price, but we're not giving you any more. You already took a field worth 200. If her ksuva was 100, let's say she wasn't a virgin when she got married, so her ksuva is only 100. Or machra shava mana v'dina b'mana, and she took from the orphans land worth a mana and a dinner and sold it for a mana. So they gypped them a dinner. Mikra batal, because she had no right to sell land that was worth a mana and a dinner for a mana. She only had right to sell land that was worth a mana. So therefore, the sale is batal. Now, she'll say, you know what, I'll give you back a dinner. Even if she says, I'll replace the dinner, it's no good, the sale's no good. Because she had no right to sell a field worth a mana and a dinner. She only had a right to a mana. So therefore, mikra batal. Reb Shimon Gamliel says, look, even if she sold a field that was worth more than a mana, as long as there wasn't over 100 enough to be a size of another small field, the sale goes through. Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, la'ayla mikra kayim, the sale is always intact sham, unless her overture, unless she was over kedesha tishaya basada bastisha kavim. She was entitled to 100, and after the value of the 100, she sold a field the size of 9 kav, which is a small field. Or bagina bas kav, or she was left over, she sold extra in a garden, a half a kav, so she sold like an extra small field or an extra garden, then it's batal. Or according to Rabbi Kiva, a base raiva, a quarter of a kav. Now, if her ksuva was 400, she had a big ksuva. She sold one piece of real estate for 100, a second one worth 100, a third one worth 100, and then the last one she sold, she was entitled to one more 100, and she sold 100 and a dinner for 100. So shel achron batal, the last sale is voided, but the first 3 sales were good. She had a right to sell one for 100, one for 2, another 100, and the third one for 100. V'shel kulan mikran kain, the other 3 sales are good. Now what happens if Bezdin makes a mistake? Shuma Dayanim. If Bezdin was selling the property of an orphan to pay her mezainis or her ksuva, shepichsu shtus, they sold it less than a sixth less than its value, or they sold it for more than a sixth of a value. So if they sold it less than they sold it a sixth less than its value, they're hurting the orphans. If they sold it for a sixth more, they're hurting the buyer. Michron batal, the sale is canceled. However, Reb Shimon Gamliel says that we give special strength to Bezdin. Bezdin has superior powers. Reb Shimon Gamliel, I'm a Michron Kayim, we uphold the sale, because imkain, if not, Ma'koich Bezdin Yafa. We have to give Bezdin extra powers. Now, Aval Masu Geris Bakiris, if the sale was done through a public auction, the Igeris Bakiris means a letter of investigation. We open up the field for people to investigate it, and we sell it to the highest bidder. There, even if they sold 100 for 200, or all they could get was 100, Michron Kain, because if it's sold in open auction, that's an acceptable way to sell. Hamimoenes, this is a girl whose father died, and the mother and brother married her off when she's a minor. So there, the din is that she could walk away from this marriage without a get, with a mere refusal. So Hamimoenes, a girl that walks away with a refusal, is not entitled to ksuva. Hashniya, if somebody married a rabbinically prohibited woman, like a grandmother, Shniya is a second level. In other words, the erva is forbidden midoraisa. The Shniya, second generation, is forbidden d'Rabbanan. She's not entitled to ksuva. Va'ailanus, and a woman that is incapable to have children, so when he divorces her, she doesn't get a ksuva. Ein lahem ksuva. These three women don't get a ksuva. V'loy peris, and there's no usufruct. Now, this means that although you might say that if she walks away from the marriage with a refusal, it retroactively erases the marriage. So maybe the husband, the fruit, the usufruct that he ate, maybe he should reimburse. He doesn't have to reimburse it. And also the woman that was forbidden, he doesn't have to reimburse. And by the islanders, he doesn't have to reimburse. V'loi mezainis, there's no support. V'loi belois, and upon leaving, the clothing that were worn out, she can't claim it from the husband. V'mitchila nisa l'shem islandess, but if initially he married her as an islandess, in other words, it wasn't something he didn't know. He knew it, and he married her anyway. So then, yesh lo ksuva. When there was no misleading him, and she's entitled to a ksuva. Almana l'kain gadol, a widow that marries a kain gadol, grusha v'chalutza l'kain hedyot, a divorcee or a chalutza that marries a kain hedyot, mamzeres, a mamzeres or a nesina, a giyaris that's a nasin that's not allowed to marry into Klal Yisrael that marries Yisrael, or Bas Yisrael, l'nasin l'mamzer, there yesh lem ksuva. So you'll wonder why over here there's a ksuva, and by a shniya, a second generation forbidden one, there's no ksuva. And the answer is because in the case of Almana l'kain gadol, she becomes disqualified. She becomes a zayna, and she's forbidden. And her children become disqualified. They become a chalal. So therefore, it's likely that the husband convinced her to marry him, and therefore we don't penalize her for the ksuva. In the case of the shnia, where she doesn't get disqualified, there we say it's more likely she convinced him, because a woman wants to marry more than a husband wants to get married. The Gemara says, "Tabla meisiv tandu milameisiv amalu." It's better to live two bodies than to live alone, and therefore there we penalize her and take away her ksuva. Now the Gemara says in ksuvas, "Ibayalu ni zaynas tanan." It says a woman, a widow, is supported. Oy hani zaynas tanan, or if she's supported. Ni zaynas tanan, that she has to be supported. That's k'anshe Galil, like the townspeople of Galil, where it says in the ksuva that you should atre yasva bebeisi, you should live in my house, umetarzna menichsai, and be supported by my estate, kol yemei meger amalusei, all the days of your widowhood. So therefore it's alman and hizainis, v'lo sagid elo yavela, and they have to give it to her. Oidil mahani zainis tanan, if she's supported, because they have an option to give her a ksuva and not to support her. Or k'anshe Yehuda, v'bay lo yavela, and if they wanted to, they don't have to give it to her. So Tashma, Amrab Zei Ramashmul, Metzias Almana La'atzma, the lost articles of a widow are kept by the fines, not the lost articles, the fines of a widow. If a widow finds a wallet with $10,000, she could keep it. So Iyamit Bishleima Hani Zainis Tanan, if she supported Shapir. So it's talking about a widow that was paid her ksuva, she's not supported, and that's why she could keep the wallet. If it says supported, if they're supporting her, why could she keep the wallet? Now, why don't we say that the orphan should be like the husband? Just like the husband, the wife's fines go to the husband because he's supporting her. We should say the what she finds should go to the heirs, to the Yisayim. Says Gemara, no. The orphans have to support her. But that the husband gets to keep her fines. You know why? There shouldn't be enmity. I'm supporting her, and she's keeping the lost articles. But honey, we don't care if there's ava between the orphans and the wife. We don't care. We don't have to maintain shalom bayis. Hani ta'avelu eva. We don't have to make a takana because of enmity. So we let her keep it. Finders keepers. All the jobs that a woman does for her husband, the widow does for the heirs, since they're supporting her, except for things that are of an intimate nature, except for blending his cup of wine, and making his bed, and washing his face, hands, and feet. All jobs that a servant does for his master, Talmud Oisel Rabbi, a disciple should do for his Rebbe, except for taking off his shoe, because we don't want people to say that he's a slave. We only say that he shouldn't take off his Rebbe's shoe. Ella, we don't say that the Rebbe shouldn't take off his shoe. Only in a place where they don't know him. But in a place where they know him, so they know that he's not a slave, they know he's a Talmud, let somebody could take off the shoe. And Amr of Ashi, even in a place where they don't recognize him, it's only if he's not wearing tefillin at the time. But if he's wearing tefillin at the time, we don't have to worry, they'll think he's a slave, because in Evid Kanani doesn't wear tefillin. He only has mitzvahs like a woman. Amar Reb Chia bar Abba, Amar Reb Yochanan, Kol ha'meinea talmidoi milishamshoi. Whoever withholds his Talmud from serving him, kilu meinea mimenu chesed. It's as if he withholds from him kindness, because the pasuk starts talking about kindness in Iyov, which is a reference to serving a Rebbe, and it says Shenema lamas mireyu chesed. It's considered as if you withhold from your friend kindness if you don't allow your Talmud to serve you. You cause him to be stripped of fear of heaven, because being Meshamish a Rebbe brings fear of heaven. Shenemar, it says about if you don't allow the Talmud to support you, to serve you, the fear of God will forsake him. Now the Zohar tells us as follows. Tochazei, come and see. B'kol zimna dahai nishmasa kadisha. At all times that the holy neshama is stapku bei bebarnosh, cleaves to a human, rechimahu damare, he's beloved of his creator, and kama netorin natale mikol zitrin, and how many angelic protectors guard him from all sides. Rishimahu, he is marked, L'tov, for good, L'elo v'sata, above and below, U'shchinta kadisha shar ya'aloi, and the holy Shechina rests upon him. U'bezimna di'iu astui orchoi, however, if chas v'shalom, there's a time that he strays from the way, then Shechinta istalkes minei, then the divine spirit leaves him, v'nishmasa kadisha loy istabokes bei, and then the soul doesn't cleave to him. And then chas v'shalom, u'mesitra dechivya bisha takifa, then from the side of the wicked strong snake, that's the sitra acher, isa rucha chad, it creates a spirit, Deshat va'ozel ba'alma, so Isa Ruach Echad, there awakens a spirit of Tumah, Deshat va'ozel ba'alma, the lo sharia, because this spirit of Tumah doesn't dwell, ela ba'aser de kedusha ilah istalak mitaman, only in a place that holiness leaves. Once the holiness leaves, so then it creates a vacuum, and in that vacuum comes this Tamidika spirit. U'kedain istoev barnash, and then the person becomes defiled, the ispegim b'bisarei, and his flesh is blemished, b'chezu the anpoi, in his appearance, and b'kula, throughout his body. The Tochazi, come and see, begin the high, because this nefesh chaya, this spirit of life, like it says in the pasuk, vayhi adam lenefesh chay, iu kadisha ilah. This is a person's soul, his nefesh chaya, his spirit of life, comes from an elevated holiness which emanates, the Bir Azayah says, from the Midas Bina, from the Bechina of Bina. And Kad Aram Kadisha, Ara Kadisha is a euphemism, it literally means the holy land. It's a euphemism for Bechina of Malchus. The Bechina of Malchus, Moshchalei, draws the Nefesh from Bina, V'iskalilas Begava, and it gets united with the Midah of Malchus, Kedain Karin La Neshama. And that's what's called a Neshama. because the source of the soul is from the Midas Habina. V'doi desalka leila, and this neshama goes up, u'memalala kamei malka kadisha, and has conversation with the Eibishter. And that's what it says, the oilen b'chol tarin, and it goes through all the gates, v'les de yimche b'yadaha, and no one stops it. It has free entry in all the celestial gates. And that's why it says that Hashem made a nefesh chaya, which is a ruach mamalala. Ruach mamalala means a spirit that speaks with Hashem. Valdo iskere rucha mamalala. The chiddush is that we think it means a spirit that speaks. But no, because only the neshama of a yid is a ruach mamalala. Now, if it just means that speaks, then it would be referred to a guy too. The kol nafshasa leslon rishula malala kamei malka. Any other lesser souls don't have permission to go and speak with Hashem bar hai, except for a holy neshama of a yid, which emanates from the bechina of bina. Valdo araisa achrizis v'amras. And because of this, the Torah warns us, actually it's in Tehillim, Nitzor l'shoincha meira, guard your tongue from speaking evil. Uksiv shomer piv l'shoinai, guard your mouth and your tongue. Begin the haisif vosei v'lishnei memalal and milan bishin, because those lips and tongues which speak bad words, einam milan slik, inon milan slikin leila, these words of tumah rise upwards, ubeshaita the sokim, when they go up, kulum machrizin v'omrin, all of the celestial camps announce and decree, istalokum misacharene demila bisha planya, move away from the area of the bad words of so-and-so. Panuna say la'orche dechivya takifa, make room for now passage for the sitra achra, the strong tumah of the snake. Kidain nishmasa kadisha is abraminavis v'lokas. Then the holy neshama leaves him. It does not anymore have right to speak with Hashem. Kamadat Omar, as it says in the pasuk, Ne'lamti, I was made mute. Dumi, I was made dumb. Hechashesi metayv, I was silenced from the good. Vahi nishmasa solka b'kisufa, and this neshama now goes up with shame and disgrace. Ba'aka dekula, fully in distress. V'loya vinula asa kilomakadman, and they don't give it safe passage to go to all the places like before. V'aldog siv shaymer pivul shayna, guard your tongue and your mouth. Shaymer mitzaris nafshay, protect the distress of the soul. Nafshay vade, we're talking about the actual soul. Hahid havim memalad isavidis mashtuka, and the one that was a ruach mamalala with the shechina is now made to be silenced. Begin milula bisha, because of these bad words. Chivya is damen, so therefore the snake is invited. That's the sitra achra. The kula la'asre is hadar, because all things return to its source. So bad things, bad words, return to the snake. And now, when these bad words go on its known route, and it rests by this strong snake, the sitra achra, how many damaging spirits are awakened in the world, and a spirit comes down from that side of evil, and finds that this bad man this man, not bad man, this man awakened it with his foul words. Varucha memala kadisha is abramine, and the spirit that was in his body, it left him. Kedain sharye aloi, this spirit of evil rests upon him. Visavle, and defiles him. And then he becomes a Mitzayra. Now, Kamada Anshin Dahai Barnosh, begin Mila Bisha, just like the penalty of this man comes because of bad words, Kach Anoshe, he also gets punished, even if he didn't say bad words, but he avoided from saying good things. You know, we don't only get punished for what we did, but we also get punished for what we could have done and didn't do. Kach Anoshe begin Mila Tava da Asa Liyadeh, for a good word, that an opportunity that came to his hand, v'yachal amala, and he could have done it, v'loy malal, and he didn't do it. In other words, he could have said something encouraging to his wife, and he didn't do it. Begin the pogim lahu rucha mamala, because again, he blemishes that spirit of speech. Dahi is takonis lamala la'ela, because it was created to speak by the Rabbeinu Shalom, or lamala l'sata, and to speak below good things, v'kula b'kedusha, and all with holiness. Now, if that's so, that he's punished for not being misameach someone and not speaking good on someone's behalf, then kol shechein, if he had the opportunity to rebuke someone, if people are going in a crooked way, and he could have spoke to them and rebuked them, and he was quiet and he didn't speak, like it says in the pasuk, ne'lamti, I was mute, dumi, I was done, I avoided speaking good, then my pain is stirred. As the Zohar explains, nekar, stirred, b'machtishin d'mesa'uvasa, with leprosy that's tamei, v'dod amar David Malka, alkei bahai, he was stricken with saras, v'ispanimine, and when he did tshuva, he was cured from it. Now, how do we know that Ispanei minei means that he was cured? Dichsiv pnei elai. Well, how do we know that he was cured? Dichsiv pnei elai, cause it to leave me, v'chaneni, and grace me. Mal pnei elai, kamodat Omar, as it says by Miriam, vayifen Aaron. So we see that vayifen is a term of tzaras. When it says pnei elai, it means that he was cured from his saras. Now, the Zohar earlier told us a story that Reb Chia and Reb Yossi saw a man with saras on his face, and his children, who were great, told him that it's not because he said something bad, but because he could have rebuked people, and he didn't. And this Talmid Chacham told Reb Chia and Reb Yossi the ensuing conversation. Unishaku, they kissed him, and isdovgu kachada kolahu orcha, and they traveled together the whole way. Karab Reb Chia alayu, and Reb Chia said about the wise children, v'oirech tzadikim, the way of the righteous, ka'or noiga, is like the light of day, hoylech v'or, it grows lighter and lighter in the morning, ad nechayim hayom, until its brilliance at noon. And now we learn from the Musar of Rabbeinu Ayoina and Shari Tshuva, Madregas Rabbis L'Tshuva, there's a lot of levels to Tshuva. Ulafia Madregas, and as a person climbs more levels, Yiskarei v'odem el HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a person gets closer to Hashem. For any little amount of tshuva, there's forgiveness. Ach loy titar hanefesh toya shalom, the soul doesn't get a perfect purification, that the sin should be like they never happened. Zulasi kashe yitara adam es libay, only when a person purifies his heart, v'yachin es ruchai, and he reestablishes his spirit, kashe yizbar, like we'll explain. V'chein ksiv, and so is it written, Ashrei Adam lo yachshav Hashem loy oven. Fortunate is a person when Hashem doesn't consider it anymore for him a sin. Ve'ein beruchai remiyah, and there isn't left in his spirit any deceit. Ukeinin abeged, and like a piece of dirty clothing, hatzar kibbus, that needs washing. Now, any little bit of washing helps. Any little bit of washing helps to take its polluted nature from it. The more you wash it, the wider it becomes. Do a lot of washing for my sins. And the washing of the soul from sin is in proportion to how much a person cleanses and purifies his heart. Shenemer, as it says in Yirmiyah, Kapsi meira libe Yerushalayim. Cleanse me from the evil of my heart, Yerushalayim. Our rabbis of blessed memory have said, Ashrei ish yireyes Hashem, fortunate is a person that fears Hashem ba'odo ish, while he's still a man, while he still has his youthful temptations, while he's still fully sensual. The best repentance is b'mei b'churaisa, while he's still in the full vigor of youth, where he still has a temptation to sin, and he still prevails over his yetzer. All tshuva helps, even when a person is very old. A person will return to the dust, and we say shuva v'nei adam, even right before he returns to the dust, even as a very old man. Our rabbis of blessed memory explain, until the soul is crushed, until it returns to its maker, it could still do tshuva. The good Almighty, who wants the tshuva of those that repent, Yeshivenu, he should allow us to do tshuva, Bizakenu, and give us the merit, Lazar b'tshuva shleima, to do a perfect tshuva, Ulahashlam, and to complete tikkun nefesh, the correction of our life, Ruach, our spirit, Neshama, our soul, Ken Yiratzon, so should it be his will. And finally, we learn the Rambam from Hilchas Ma'aseh Karbanos, B'makom shesoimchim sheichetem, in the place where we do the smicha, that's where we should do the shchita. The takef l'smicha shchita. Immediately after doing the smicha on the animal, putting your two hands on the animal's head, you should do the shchita. However, b'mshachet b'makom acher, if you shecht it b'di'evet in another place, or sheshah, or you left time between the smicha and the shchita saksheir. Even the smicha itself, smicha shiorei mitzvah, the smicha is only a remnant of the mitzvah. In other words, it is not the essence of the mitzvah. Lefikachem lo yisamach, if you didn't do the smicha at all kosher, it doesn't invalidate the carbon. The Gemara says it's as if you didn't do a kapara min amuvcher, you didn't do a preferable The one who does the smicha has to do it with all his strength, b'shtei yadav, with both his hands, al roisha behema, on the head of the animal, shenema al roisha oila, on the head of the burnt offering, lo al tzavar, not on the neck, v'lo al stud, not on the sides of the animal. V'lo yeh davar chaytzeitz ben yadav v'ben behema. There should nothing separating between his hand and the head of the animal. The Ketzat Saimach, how does he do the smicha? If the carbon was a holy of holies, like a chatas, like an asham, like an oila, which has to be done batzafan, on the north of the mizbeach, ma'amidan batzafan, we put the animal facing north, or panav lamarav, with its head turned to the west. No. It's on the northern side of the Mizbeach, facing the head to the west, and its hindquarters to the east. And the one that's doing the smicha stands in the east, by the back of the animal, or panav lamarav, putting his head is facing the west, and he puts his hand on the animal, because this way he doesn't have to have his backside facing the west. He puts his two hands between the two horns of the animal, and he confesses. Alachatas, on a sin offering, avoin chatas, whatever the sin he did, if he was mechal Shabbos, if he slept with a sister, etc. Val oshim, on a guilt offering, avoin oshim, so let's say it was an oshim me'ilah for trespassing kachim, so he confesses on the sin of me'ilah. If he's bringing a burnt offering, misvada avoin asay, because a oila is brought for a not keeping a mitzvah asay, like not saying kriyishma bizmanai. Va'avoin lois asay shenitik asay, or lava nitik asay, like gezela, which is connected to the asay of heishivas agzela. Ketzan misvada, how does he confess? Aimer chatasi, I sinned, avisi, I sinned b'shaygeg, b'mezid, poshati, I committed rebellion, or I neglected, v'asizi kach v'kach, and I did this and this sin, v'chazarti b'tshuva, I repented, l'fanecha, before you, v'zu kaparasi, and this is my atonement. Now what about a korban shlomim? Korban shlomim is a nedava, it's not brought for sin. So hayah korban shlomim soymech b'kol makom sheyitzim in Hazara, because shlomim's kachim kalma can be brought any place in Hazara, b'mkayim shchitu, wherever you're going to shecht it. V'yera'ali, and it appears to me, when the Rambam says v'yera'ali, it means there's no makar in the Gemara for this. It's exciting. V'yera'ali, it appears to me, she'ena mizvada ala shlomim. He doesn't make a confession on the shlomim. So what does he do when he does the smicha? Avaloimer divrei shevach. He says words of praise, like mizmor l'soida, like what we say in Pesukei Zimrei, mizmor l'soida. Very, very exciting Chok, everybody. We want to thank you for joining us and wish you a wonderful evening.